Hello dear students, welcome back once again. In my this video you will be studying about the age of Guptas or the Gupta period. The moment we talk about the Gupta age, three great rulers come in our mind. Chandragupta I, the founder of the Gupta Empire, Samudragupta, who was also known as the Napoleon of India, and Chandragupta II, or also called as, who was also known as Vikramaditya. Now, dear students, what are the sources? When we are talking about what are the sources or what are the evidences which tell us about the Gupta age. So, sources or the proofs are divided into two parts, literary and archaeological. Literary means the written records, and archaeological means the physical monuments which are present, which tell us about that period. So, first we will be discussing about the literary sources. Okay, so now when we are talking about the literary sources, account of Fahen. Fahen was the visitor who visited during the time of Gupta period. Accounts of Tisang and work of Kalidasa. Now, what we understand from the account of Fa Hen. Fa Hen was a Chinese pilgrim who visited India during Chandragupta II era. He stayed in India for almost 13 years. He wrote a book called as Fa Ko Ki. He visited and observed many places like Mathura, Kannauj, Kapilvastu, Kushinagar, Vaishali, Patliputra, Kashi, etc. So, according to him, Magad was prosperous country with large towns and wealthy population. Patliputra was developed city. Through people has wealth, they lived simple lives and followed Buddhism. Images of Hindu gods were seen on coins, sculptures, etc. Punishments were mild and were in form of fines. Fines means they have to pay penalty. One more important literary sources is the work of Kalidasa. Now, Kalidasa was the famous poet, the greatest poet and the playwright India has ever produced. Now, what was his work? Meghaduta is a very interesting part of his work. Ritu Samara, Raghuvamasa, and Kumar Rasambhava. He spoke about love, nature, beauty, and it also gave information about government society seen in the Gupta period. Now, dear students, talking about the sources, archaeological sources, we will be discussing about the three important archaeological sources, out of which the first one is Allahabad pillar inscription, which describes the work and the achievements of Samudragupta. Devghar Vishnu temple, which tell us about the religious and the architectural features of the Gupta period, and Nalanda University. Yes, Nalanda University, which gives information about the education culture of the Gupta age. So first we will be discussing about the Allahabad pillar inscription. As in the image you can see the Allahabad pillar inscription. The inscriptions of Allahabad pillar are called as Prayag Prashasti. It praises Samudragupta, one of the most strongest Gupta rulers. It was composed by a poet named Harisena, the court poet of Gupta age, and it was in Sanskrit. It describes about the kingdom of Samudragupta. It also tells us about Samudragupta's first defeated northern rulers and then headed for defeating southern rulers. He allowed the southern rulers to rule but took tributes from them. Many tribes surrendered their kingdoms to Samudragupta without fight itself, because they were already aware of the power of Samudragupta. After these victories, he performed Ashwamedha Yajna and issued gold coins depicting sacrificial horses. He also described Samudragupta's love for music. There were some coins seen where he is shown playing veena. The second archaeological feature is the Devghar Vishnu temple. In the picture you can see the ruins of Devghar Vishnu temple. So now we will be discussing what exactly Devghar Vishnu temple was. As in the image you can see that the picture or a statue which is of Lord Vishnu in the sleeping position on Sheshnag, and there are other god and goddess around him. So Devghar Vishnu temple is famous for the Dashavatara temple, is also called as Dashavatara temple. Devghar is about 125 kilometers from Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh. It was constructed in 6th century. It is one of the earliest Hindu temples. It was made of stones and bricks. Entrance has painting, decoration, images of Rama and Lord Krishna, etc. It also shows Hanumana carrying a hill containing of the herb that cured Lakshmana, who was wounded by the son of Ravana, that is Meghnada. That is one of the story of Ramayana. Vishnu was also called as Sheshashahi, is shown asleep on a coil of a giant serpent called as Sheshnaga, as in the image itself shows. It has huge shikhara. Shikhara means tower. Now in the modern day, any temple which you will go, so the upper part of the temple is having shikhara or tower. Okay, so in the same way we can say that maybe our modern day engineers who are constructing temple, they must have taken the examples of the Devghar temple itself. The next archaeological features or archaeological proof which tell us about is the Nalanda University. It was most renowned and famous university of ancient India. Nalanda, which is located in Bihar. Yuj Sang also had mentioned about the grandness of Nalanda University. It had many buildings enclosed by walls. There were 3 huge libraries and provided all facilities free to the students. Students from various parts of India and other countries like China, Japan, Tibet, etc. studied here. Subjects taught included medicine, yoga, mathematics, science, astronomy, etc. Admission procedure was very tough. A strong entrance exam was taken, and the students who passed those exams were only allowed to take admission in that. But unfortunately, the grandness, the vastness, and the archaeological features of this Nalanda University was destroyed by the Muslim ruler during the time of the Khilji. Alauddin Bakhtiar Khilji destroyed this, and only ruins are remain in the modern day of those university. Now when we are discussing about the Gupta period, as in the video itself we have discussed about the 3 important ruler: Chandragupta I, who was the founder; Samudragupta, the strongest ruler of the Gupta period; and Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya. So first we will be discussing about the founder, that is Chandragupta I. Chandragupta I was also called as Maharaja Dhiraj, that is the king of kings. He had won many wars and he extended his empire through marriage alliances. He preferred 2 ways to extend his empire. First, war. The rulers who didn't accepted his proposal, he attacked him and defeated him and captured his territories. And the second was marriage alliances. Marriage alliances was done to extend the kingdom where two strong rulers were coming face to face. So it was better to waste money and the power in war. Better they will have marriage relations between those two kingdoms, and it will be one. The next ruler, the son, the successor of Chandragupta I, was Samudragupta, who was also called as Napoleon of India. We have already discussed about the Allahabad pillar inscription, which describes his achievements. He won many wars and was a very powerful ruler. He first defeated northern rulers like Mathura, Padmavati, Achetitra, that is Bareilly, western UP and eastern India. He made 12 South Indian rulers like Odisha, Andhra, Tamil accept his power. He allowed them to rule and in return got tributes from these kings. Many rulers of Bengal, Assam, Nepal, MP, that is Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan surrendered to Samudragupta without any war. Many neighboring rulers offered their daughters to marry him. He was a good administrator, musician, poet, and a scholar. He was also known as Kaviraja. He respected all religions. Talking about the third important ruler, that is Chandragupta II, also called as Vikramaditya. He was the son of Samudragupta. He inherited the military power from his father and extended the Gupta Empire. Even he followed the policy of war and expansion. He defeated Sakas of Gujarat and Kathiawar, hence was also called as Sakari, that is conqueror of Sakas. For this, he married a Naga princess named Kumarnaga and gave the hand of his daughter to Vakataka prince named Rudrasena II. This alliance had strengthened his position against Sakas. Even this marriage alliances made him very strong. With this victory, he got a sea entry for trade with Europe. Fahen has described about Vikramaditya and his fine administrative skill in details. Also, an inscription on an iron pillar near Qutub Minar describes his victories in Bengal and Afghanistan. Even he loved art and literature. He issued gold coin as well. Now, dear students, in this video earlier I told you that the Gupta age was also called as the golden period. Now, why that age or that period was called as the golden age? The people were happy, prosperous, administration was strong, and there was no complaint. But there was one more factor. It was the Gupta age where there was lot of scientific development, lot of support for the scientists, mathematicians, architecture, and there was lot of growth of India, or we can also call it as development in the field of science, mathematics, architecture, etc. So now we will be discussing about the developments in the field of science. Aryabhatta, a very well known name, who was a great astronomer and mathematician. He was supported during the time of Gupta period itself. He had written two books, Aryabhatiya and Surya Siddhanta. Now here Aryabhatiya deals with algebra, geometry, arithmetic and trigonometry, whereas Surya Siddhanta explains scientifically the cause of solar and lunar eclipse. He explained the value of pi. He discovered formula to find the area of triangle. He was the first Indian astronomer to declare that Earth is spherical in shape and proved that Earth revolves around the Sun and rotates around its own axis. After this great astronomer's name, India's first satellite, Aryabhatta, was sent into space that we all are aware of. Now, one of the major factors of the Gupta period was the administration of the Gupta age. King holded the strong position. Rajan or the king was dropped as the title, means they were called by the other name like Maharaja Dhiraj, Parama Bhattarka and Parama Devata, that is the level of God. They were considered almost equal to God. Allahabad inscriptions referred Samudragupta as God's dwelling on earth. King were believed to have powers of Lord Vishnu, protector or preserver, and goddess Lakshmi was seen on coins. King cannot or the emperor cannot take control of entire province alone. He needs help. So there were ministers appointed to help the king. Ministers and other officers, when we are talking, king was helped by the ministers and other imperial officers. Mantri, that was the head of the civil administration. Senapati was the head of the army. Chief of the palace guards were called as Sadhan Sandhi Vigrahika, ministers of foreign affairs. Chief censor was examining the secret reports. Now, the entire empire, the big empire, the Gupta empire was very big, which covered almost from the eastern part of the country to the western part and from northern to the southern part. So, it was divided into provinces or number of different parts. It was divided, the entire empire was divided into number of provinces. The kingdom was divided into bhuktis or desas, governors. Each province or each bhukti was having the head called as governors. Governors were usually the prince or the royal blood or someone who belonged to the royal family. As governors, the princes were called as Uparika or Maharaja or Pradeshikas. Provinces were divided into districts. Now each provinces were having divided into number of districts to keep administration more stronger. Bhuktis were further divided into districts called as Vishyas, where districts are called as Vishyas. Vishyapatis or Ayuktas were the heads of these districts. Pratham Kayasth wrote letters and the documents. Pusthapal were keeping the records, and Nagar Shreshti was the chief banker in district. Every district followed the same pattern. Discussing about the municipal administration, here we are talking about the cities or the big cities. Here municipal board had 4 members. Nagar Shreshti, that was the guild president. Now what is guilds? What are guilds? Guilds are the group of a people forming any profession to help those profession people, like farmers will be having their own guilds, traders will be having their own guild or group of people who will be working for their own respective community. Sarthavaha, that was the chief merchant, will be taking care of the merchants. Prathama Kulika, that was the chief artisans, which will be who will be taking care of the artisans. Pratham Kayastha, that was the chief scribe who wrote letters and the documents for the king and the administration. Coming at the lowest level of the administration, that is the village administration. Gramika, or where the head of the village, he kept control of law and peace in that particular village. No land transaction and other affairs weren't done without their consent. When we are discussing about the Gupta administration of law and justice, we are talking about the civil property, criminal affairs was theft and assault. 3 levels of courts were there: village and local level to solve the disputes between two people. District, if the things were not solved by the village or the local authority, it was go to the district people where there was the head, and if not solved by the district authorities, the problems was solved by the provincial people, and the final decisions was with the king. Governors were always given freedom to take their decision. Now dear students, when we are talking about the Gupta period, we have already discussed about the things in details, but I hope this video has cleared the concept related to the Gupta age, and in our next videos we will be discussing more about the other concept of the Indian history. Till then, take care of yourself and have a lovely time. Thank you.